Much has been written recently about what's being called the epidemic of loneliness in America. And these statistics have only gotten worse in the last few years. While Robert Putnam was already writing about concepts like bowling alone in 2000 and the impact it has on communities, it wasn't until the pandemic hit that folks focused on the importance of human connection more deeply. A 2021 survey found that 36% of respondents reported serious loneliness, which is feeling lonely frequently or almost all of the time. And that number breaks down into 61% of people aged 18 to 25 and 51% of mothers with young children, which is a demographic that I'm particularly familiar with. I'm Allison Mcmillan. I'm the VP of Engineering at QuotaPath, a company that works to increase compensation transparency for folks who receive variable pay. I'm also the board president of Ruby Central and had a podcast on being a parent in tech. And I'm also a huge fan of workplace fun and activities that help people get to know one another. Icebreakers get a pretty bad rep, especially from engineers. I mean, how many of us have dreaded needing to come up with a fun fact about ourselves, or even worse, 2 truths and a lie on the spot? But as stressful as this can be, we also really enjoy it when our coworkers know something about us and when we've established these core groups of work friends. Work should be fun. This doesn't mean that work is my family, but I spend a lot of hours every day at work in jobs where I'm laughing, where I know my colleagues, and where having fun is just a part of everyday tasks, makes those places better to work. The average person spends 81,396 hours at work. It's around 9 years. And according to the Survey Center on American Life, people are more likely to make friends at work than in any other way. If you ask people what the best part about their company is, many will say the people and genuinely mean it. Close friendships at work increase productivity because they increase peer encouragement, communication, and commitment to one another. These employee relationships are a really important aspect of employee retention. A study from Globoforce in 2014 found that almost 2/3 of folks with 6 to 25 friends at work said that they love their company, compared to only 24% of folks with no workplace friends. And there are studies on studies that talk about how having workplace friends leads to higher job satisfaction, better work engagement, and less cortisol in stressful times. And beyond that, there's a whole different discipline that exists around what it means to come together, especially today, touted by authors like Priya Parker and The Art of Gathering, promoting ways to make everyday gatherings more meaningful. So how do people get to know each other at work, and what's some of that special fun magic that you can use regularly? So I asked via social media, because what else is a good source of truth if not Twitter? What's something that your team does other than offsites or get-togethers to bring some fun to the day-to-day? Okay, so my goal was to collect all of these amazing ideas and put them together in a highlight reel for you. I expected to be flooded with suggestions, but what I found was that many teams don't actually do much of anything. They do retros and demo days and planning meetings. They have face-to-face time. They make sure that they're doing hackathons, all hands, periodic offsites. And of course, a big part of that is making sure to have some time at the start for, chit-chat, banter, etc. But there isn't much that's planned, thoughtful, and targeted specifically at this goal. It's a really easy one to let fall by the wayside in the midst of busy work days, weeks, and months. And even with companies going back in person more, many are offering hybrid options. So offices just aren't as crowded as they used to be, and our world remains a little more remote. So having that time and space to just hang out is even more important. Along the way, though, I did discover some diamonds, so without further ado, here we go. 1, get to know each other questions. This is one that many teams do, and there are tons of tools for this. Slack integrations or bots like Donut, Board, Birthday Bot allow you to set up things once and then just let it roll automatically. Hot tips though, make sure to jump in there every week, set the example and set the tone. Think about curating some questions that might be more meaningful for your team. Otherwise, this just becomes noise without any actual engagement. 2, water cooler chats. These are short, weekly, synchronous chats. Sometimes they move around different time zones to catch different people in different countries. A time and place where people can just jump on, talk about their weekends, their hobbies, what sandwiches they like, literally anything that comes up. If you've done this before, but your team struggles with getting started, you can add a weekly fun topic to the calendar description or kick it off with a chat starter of some sort. Try as much as possible to stay away from work topics. 3, at QuotaPath, we have a navigator of the week. So people fill out these brief forms about themselves in advance, and then at our weekly meeting, they introduce themselves with the answers to some of these fun questions. As people talk about themselves, others are commenting in chat and creating those connections. We then all hop on a Slido to vote on which of the 3 statements isn't true. And now I know that I knocked on 2 truths and a lie earlier, but this one is not on the fly, so there's less stress and pressure to come up with something on the spot. It takes just a few minutes and is a great way to get to know others. 4, creative uses of Geekbot. I've used Geekbot with many teams in the past as an easy asynchronous stand-up, but a colleague of mine introduced new questions for Monday's Geekbot that asked folks to mention a personal highlight from the previous week in addition to a professional one. It was a great way to casually get a little bit more insight into our colleagues and what they were doing outside of work. 5, get a little silly. You can encourage silliness with your team. For one virtual offsite, I sent everyone these headbands with whiteboard speech bubble on top. Now, that was to provide some magic for the offsite, but we all definitely used it after the offsite for meetings. For a different one, I sent out light boxes with letters, and it was always fun to see what people had written in their background. And then finally, Slack sharing. Encouraging folks to post about their weekend or funny and interesting articles in Slack is key. They're great for generating discussion and just getting a really good Slack vibe going. Beyond that, there are fun things that teams do regularly, but not quite weekly. So I wanted to highlight some of these because they can be adapted or happen more often depending on bandwidth or if you have teammates who are willing to jump in and help. So one fall, I did a series of activities that I called Fall into Fun. We had a number of new folks in our department, and I really just needed an infusion of fun into our day-to-day. So for 3 weeks, each week, I rolled out a new icebreaker with some small prizes for first and second place. This first one was a Find Someone Who board, which was filled with all sorts of fun facts, and you needed to find someone in the department who had that fun fact. I encouraged people to find out these facts in one-on-ones as opposed to Slack, and then I tallied up to see who the winner was. The second was bingo. This is a mix of things that people do every day at work and also that we sort of see and experience regularly in Slack. The first person to yell bingo on Slack won. And then finally, we did this matching game. So I had folks optionally submit to me fun facts about them or a picture of their fridge or pantry. I put these on a sheet and folks had a few days to guess who in the department matched with which fact or picture. We had a ton of conversation. It was great as the form was open, when people were filling out answers, and then when the answers were revealed. There are other ideas like monthly virtual lunch hangouts, handmade birthday cards, and of course, bonding activities that happen at offsites or when teammates come together. So here are all those ideas on one slide. Okay, so I'm sure many of you are sitting there going, ugh, do I really have to be the fun facilitator? That sounds like something I would hate doing. But there are some tools and tips that I will leave you with to make this easier. Giphy for Slack are apps that let you post pictures and reactions. Donut and Board as ways to pre-generate and pre-schedule icebreakers that pop up in your Slack channel of choice. Apps like BirthdayBot or a variety of HR systems that now have Slack integrations that will automatically post birthdays or work anniversaries. Free bingo board generators. Chat packs, these are literally decks of cards that have like conversation starters or interesting questions on them. And finally, a whole host of online games. I haven't used all of these, but they all come highly recommended. And I'll leave you with some overarching tips. Give people a heads up when they'll be asked to provide or share a piece of information about themselves. Make tasks easy. For example, what's your favorite pair of socks is a really good go-to for me and actually always leads to some really fun conversations. Find the right balance for your team. Make it optional and keep going. Sometimes it'll take people a few weeks to really get into it, but it'll happen. Just keep trying. So good luck with your new bucket of magic, and don't forget to have fun. Thank you.